going on, guys? It's your boy Naruto Explained here, and today we're going to be poking the hornet's nest by discussing one of the most controversial topics in the fandom, which is Sasuke's nerf against BoruShiki after Naruto versus Izanagi took place. Ever since the manga chapter came out and Sasuke's Rinnegan got destroyed, it's been a topic of conversation with fans for a long time, with fans giving a laundry list of reasons why the event never should have happened. So I'm gonna do here what I did after Boruto episode 204 dropped, and I released a video titled Why Jigen Won, and I literally went through every single argument that people made for why Naruto and Sasuke should have won, and I explained why Jigen was a hard counter. So for this video, it's not going to be as cut and dry as that video because the circumstances are different. Whereas Jigen was literally a hard counter to their entire arsenal, Sasuke's nerf against BoruShiki exists, but it's not in the way that a lot of fans believe. So let's be clear, there was a nerf here. Nobody is denying that, but it's not going to be the nerf that fans want to hear. And the answer isn't going to be some lazy explanation that the author wrote it that way, therefore that's just what the story is. I'm not going to give you an answer like that, but instead I'm going to be giving you an in-universe answer behind everything, but we'll be getting to that in a bit. For now, I want to look at some of the suggestions that people have made for what Sasuke could have done when BoruShiki destroyed his Rinnegan. Now, the most common question I see when it comes to this scene is, why didn't Sasuke just use Izanagi when the Rinnegan was destroyed? People mentioned that Danzo was spamming Izanagi during Sasuke's fight during the 5 Kage summit. Sasuke clearly saw Danzo weave the hand signs, and so Sasuke would know how to do it. That's a logical question to ask because it's a forbidden Uchiha clan jutsu that allows the user to rewrite reality. So it makes sense why people would say, why wouldn't Sasuke do something like that here? The problem with that is that every jutsu has a weakness. Izanagi isn't any different despite how absurdly broken it is. The weakness for Izanagi is that in order to use the genjutsu to rewrite the events of physical reality, the jutsu has to be active. In order to activate this jutsu, you have to do two things. You have to have the sharingan active, and you have to weave the hand signs that are required to cut on the jutsu. The other way to use this jutsu is to do the steps I just outlined, but then apply it in the way that Madara did, which is to pre-program the sharingan to be sacrificed when certain conditions are met. For Madara, the moment he died, the genjutsu was set to go off after a certain number of days after his battle with Hashirama. Despite what gets tossed around, the genjutsu has to be planned before it's used. Perfect examples of this would be how Danzo, after he cut off the genjutsu, had to use the Hashirama cells in his body to deflect Sasuke's Susanoo arrow, and Madara was completely off guard in an even worse situation than Sasuke when Zetsu stabbed him during the 4th Great Ninja War. If Izanagi could have been used in those moments, Madara and Danzo would have done so there, but the above steps had not been initiated during that time. Now, that also extends to Sasuke. Sasuke didn't do either of those steps here. His Sharingan was cut off, and he didn't pre-program his Sharingan to be sacrificed in the specific event that his Rinnegan got destroyed. So the jutsu couldn't be used here. This brings us to one of the most important reasons why Sasuke's Rinnegan was destroyed, which was due to the fact that his guard was lowered and his Sharingan was cut off. Now, this might not seem like a big deal at first, but just as I pointed out with Izanagi, having the Sharingan cut off limits quite a few options for Sasuke. Having the Sharingan off means that you lose access to critical Sharingan abilities like the Sharingan Eye Insight, which grants the user precognitive abilities to predict the movements of a target by reading their muscle twitches. The Sharingan is also a counter to the Otsutsuki's ability to mask their chakra, because Jigen was able to do that, hide his presence. When he shrank down, Naruto couldn't sense where he was, but Sasuke could follow along because the Sharingan has the ability to see chakra as a color. So even though BoruShiki was masking his chakra, Sasuke's Sharingan would have seen the chakra change in the area as he was turning around, which would have given him time to react faster. Now, this brings up the question of why Sasuke had his Sharingan cut off in the first place, and it's actually pretty cut and dry when we look at it. Naruto and Sasuke didn't go into the Izanagi battle thinking they could win. They knew better. After all, Jigen beat the brakes off of both of them only a couple of days prior. How are they going to beat Izanagi when Izanagi was even stronger than Jigen? something that Naruto himself acknowledged after Izanagi knocked Naruto through several buildings in Konoha. Naruto and Sasuke were hoping to distract Izanagi long enough that by the time he killed them, time would run out on Izanagi's body before he could put the Karma Seal on Kawaki. When Izanagi was finally killed off, Sasuke had no reason to keep his Sharingan activated. The biggest threat in his mind had already been addressed, which was Izanagi's death. He'd already had the Sharingan on earlier as he watched Baryon Mode Naruto vs Izanagi, and he noticed right away that the transformation had been doing something to Naruto's chakra. In Sasuke's mind, the major threat was gone. There were no hostilities on the battlefield, and he'd been in the process of questioning Naruto about what had happened to his chakra as a result of Baryon Mode. In universe, it makes sense why his Sharingan was cut off, because Sasuke didn't view himself as being in danger, especially given that Masashi Kishimoto wrote this entire scene utilizing dramatic irony. Now, fans knew that BoruShiki had taken over Boruto's body during the Izanagi battle because in the manga, you notice Boruto's Byakugan is active. He looks over the situation and quickly closes his eyes in order to pretend to be unconscious. However, that is why it falls under the category of dramatic irony, because Sasuke was not aware of what was revealed to the readers, which is that BoruShiki was the threat on the battlefield and that Sasuke was wrong to lower his guard. Sasuke's state of mind is the next thing we have to look at because it further builds on what was just presented here. Sasuke was already just glad to be alive, but now we were in a situation where he had just gotten beaten within an inch of his life by Izanagi, on top of having to burn through his chakra in that fight. Now, the first one is pretty easy to establish. We all remember Izanagi making Sasuke a surfboard. However, I know some of you guys are asking, what about the chakra? He didn't do that much. So let's put all the Sasuke out of chakra memes aside. Let's look at what we do know in universe. Let's clarify a few things that people have misconceptions on. So we know just accessing the Otsutsuki dimensions requires an enormous amount of chakra, but sometimes I think fans forget how much chakra is required just to open up one portal to these dimensions. In the war, Obito tells Naruto, who only had 2 6-pass Sage Mode, Chakra Mode Shadow Clones at that time, that the chakra his Shadow Clone had was not enough to open up a portal to Kaguya's dimension. Obito's statement is further proven to be true when in Naruto Gaiden around chapter 8, Sasuke directly says that going into Kaguya's dimensions via those portals requires a ton of his chakra, which is why his ocular powers had not recovered. Now, when we look at this battle here, Sasuke just opened up a portal to transport himself and Naruto. Since we can't say for certain transporting others eats up more chakra because it is never directly stated, we'll just assume that it doesn't, even though I personally do think that that is the case. We're not going to assume here. We're just going to go with the safer option that it doesn't. Sasuke just used at a minimum that amount of chakra to transport himself and Naruto to BoruShiki's dimension to join Boruto and Izanagi in that battle. Prior to that, he used a Minateji Kara while he was in Konoha to save Naruto from Izanagi. He used that jutsu a second time to swap places with Boruto when Izanagi was choking him. In the anime, he used it for a third time to save Boruto from Izanagi, a second time when Izanagi was about to impale him with the chakra rods. He would then go on to use the jutsu a fourth time to save Kawaki from Izanagi. Now, the reason why I'm bringing up a Minateji Kara is that before Boruto even came out, back when the Naruto manga was weekly, we already had evidence that a Minateji Kara consumed a good amount of chakra, especially when you compare it to the basic 6-pass jutsu that anyone with the Rinnegan can use. In Naruto's manga, it didn't take a lot for Sasuke's Rinnegan to burn out and to require him to recharge. In fact, his Rinnegan burned out very quickly. Sasuke had to recharge his Rinnegan once against Madara and once against Kaguya. With Madara, the battle saw him use the jutsu twice, along with a Chidori and a couple of lightning release infused sword slashes. Against Kaguya, he used the jutsu one time, he briefly used Susanoo twice, and he used a Minateji Kara, and then he used a Minateji Kara again to swap places with Sakura's jacket. After that, Sasuke needed to recharge. In both cases, Sasuke didn't use a lot of ninjutsu for prolonged periods of time, but the common thing here is that the Minateji Kara was used. Now, prior to this, before the Rinnegan, we'd seen Sasuke in the past use Susanoo and a few other jutsu in the war on top of that without the need to recharge. The only difference here is that he had the Rinnegan active here, and he used the Minateji Kara a couple times in each of those instances. During the BoruShiki battle, not only had Sasuke used the Minateji Kara 4 times, on top of already teleporting into that dimension. It's worth noting that this is something that 16 years prior, Sasuke would not have been able to do without having to recharge his eye, but he also wasted 2 Chidori due to BoruShiki countering them, on top of being beaten within an inch of his life to the point where Sasuke couldn't stand up on his own. While he did use less jutsu here, he did use more jutsu that eat up a lot more chakra, and he also took a lot more damage here than he did in the battles with Kaguya and Madara, which is important to note because that's chakra that would have been diverted towards increasing his stamina, which, as a reminder, chakra is used for more than just ninjutsu. Chakra can also be used to amp up your speed, your strength, and your stamina. So you have the argument that Sasuke's Rinnegan could have been in the process of recharging due to all those factors, and that isn't something that is the same as being out of chakra so much as not having enough chakra to operate the Rinnegan, which makes all the basic 6-pass Rinnegan jutsu completely off the table. All that being said, Sasuke being completely off guard is your strongest point to make due to Sasuke's own words about the Shaka seeing Momoshiki control Boruto for the first time. In Boruto episode 220, Sasuke directly confirmed something that I had suspected for almost a year going back to when the chapter first came out, which is Sasuke admitted to Naruto that when he was fighting against Boruto, he had a mental nerf and he couldn't bring out his true power. Now, despite what a lot of fans want to say, this isn't something that just started with Naruto, and this isn't, oh, this is just something that the writers wrote, bro. They had to nerf Sasuke and there was no explanation for it. This didn't start with Boruto, and I'm going to explain to you why. So in part 1 of Naruto, you had additional anime scenes right before Hiruzen died that showed thoughts of Orochimaru as Hiruzen was dying, where he was thinking of Orochimaru as a child, implying that there was a mental nerf during their fight. Tsunade not being able to draw out her full power once she saw the sight of blood is another example. And even when you skip to the war, Minato went from being a straight goon and savage in the 4th Great Ninja War to having his stats nosedive upon speed blitzing Obito and realizing that Obito was the one who basically killed his wife 17 years ago. Minato mentally did not recover fully from this until Madara became the 10 Tails Jinchuriki, despite Naruto and Kurama both taking time to speak to Minato after the fact. So when Sasuke stated to Naruto that he couldn't bring himself to attack Boruto with killing intent, it made a lot of sense. Why? It's because chakra is made up of physical energy and spiritual energy. Part of a ninja's spiritual energy is their mental state of mind, which Sasuke admitted was compromised here, on top of already being half dead from having fought BoruShiki prior. He couldn't fight at his peak power, and that's nothing to be ashamed of. It speaks a lot to Sasuke's growth as a person that he even formed an attachment to this point, because Sasuke 16 years prior would have just lopped off Boruto's head with no issues. However, that's going to be it for my video today, so hopefully I kind of change your perspective on how you view that scene right there. I know there's going to be somebody that's going to say, oh, they nerfed Sasuke and Boruto. That's probably the same person calling Boruto a spoiled brat. However, for those of you guys who made it all the way to the end, press F in the chat for the Rinnegan. But as always, guys, if you like anything I had to say, don't forget to comment, rate, subscribe, and share. Thank you so much for watching to the end. Have an awesome day, guys.